She has photographs from a family reunion 7 years ago. Her and her daughter, both smiling next to two little girls named Hannah and Haley. They took them fishing. They remember their names, their faces, everything. But when she asked the parents about Haley, they said they never had a daughter by that name. Hannah is an only child, always has been. So she went back to find the photos. The photos are still there. Hannah is in them. But Haley? She's gone, completely erased from every single image. And what her daughter discovered on her phone will make you question everything you think you know about reality. 7 years ago, a woman attended a family reunion with her daughter. Her second cousin was there with his wife and their 2 daughters. A Reddit user posted. His daughters' names were Hannah and Haley. She spent the week watching all the kids, including her own. She took Hannah and Haley fishing. Her daughter was the older cousin, so she remembers them clearly. They camped together. Her daughter, who was 14 at the time, had taken a bunch of selfies with her cousins as they had camped out a couple of nights in the same tent. About 2 years after the reunion, the poster saw a Facebook post. The family had taken Hannah to Disney World. Just Hannah. She was confused because, as she describes it, I was like, "Where is Haley? I have seen and have taken pictures of her." More posts followed. Hannah at various locations. Hannah doing activities. Always alone, always referred to as an only child. The poster states, "I remember having a conversation with my cousin's wife about the spelling of their daughter's name. Plural. Daughters. 2 of them." But here's where it gets harder to explain. She reached out to her cousin and his wife directly, asked how both girls were doing. Their response was immediate and certain. They both stated that they did not have a daughter named Haley. Not that Haley had died, not that she'd moved away. They had never had a daughter by that name. Hannah, they explained, is an only child, has always been an only child. The poster didn't accept this immediately. Memory can be faulty, sure, but she had photographs, physical evidence. So I went back into my Google Photos to see if I could find pictures of Haley, and she was not there. Not the photos themselves. The photos were still there. The fishing trip, the camping, the family gatherings. But Haley wasn't in them anymore. Like the pictures were still there, but Haley was not in them. That's strange enough, but there's more. Her daughter had the same photos on her phone, dozens of selfies from that week. My daughter had pictures of her in her phone as well, and she was freaked out because they were gone. Both of them remembered these specific images: the tent, the campfire, group shots with aunts and uncles. Even the one I had had of her and my great aunt, of just the 2 of them. All still existed, but in every single photo, Haley had vanished. The poster's daughter was 14 when this reunion happened, old enough to have clear, concrete memories. My daughter was 14 at the time. Her 11-year-old son was also at the reunion, but he doesn't remember Haley at all, just mom and her daughter. 2 witnesses to a person who, according to everyone else, never existed. What happened next made it impossible to dismiss. She started asking other family members, not just the parents, everyone who attended that reunion. Aunts, uncles, cousins, grandparents. I asked so many other cousins, uncles, aunts, and Haley's grandparents. These were people who appeared in the photographs with Haley, people who, according to the poster's memory, spent time with this child. Their response was universal. No one else in the family remembers her. She pressed further. Maybe Haley was someone else's kid, a friend of the family who came along? Nothing. No one knows who she is, and even my mom states that she does not remember that name. And that's when the timeline stopped making sense. This wasn't a case of distant memory. The poster noticed Haley's absence about 5 years ago. She describes it. "I noticed this about 5 years ago. I did do a deep dive into it.
I Googled the name. I searched for any trace of a child named Haley connected to my family. I found other girls with the same name, but none of them were her. I went through old physical photos, digital archives, anything that might confirm this child existed. I became convinced something had happened to her, and no one wanted to talk about it. But the evidence makes it even more bizarre.
Let's break down what we can confirm. First, there are two independent witnesses. The poster and her daughter both remember Haley. They remember specific interactions. The poster recalls taking both girls fishing. Her daughter remembers camping in the same tent for multiple nights, taking selfies together. These aren't vague memories. They're detailed, specific experiences with a clear timeline. Second, they both remember photographs that no longer show what they remember seeing. The poster describes searching her Google Photos specifically for images of Haley. The photos from that week still exist, the locations match, the other people match, but Haley isn't there. Her daughter experienced the same thing. My daughter had pictures of her in her phone as well, and she was freaked out because they were gone. Now consider this aspect. When the poster says the pictures were still there, but Haley was not in them, she's describing something remarkably specific. Not deleted photos, not corrupted files. The images exist, but one person has been removed from them. She mentions a photo of her and my great-aunt, of just the two of them. If Haley never existed, who was the second person in that photo? Is it now just a photo of the great-aunt alone? The poster doesn't specify, but the implication is unsettling. Third, there's the conversation about spelling. The poster states clearly, I remember having a conversation with my cousin's wife about the spelling of their daughter's name. Not daughter's name singular, but in the context of discussing Haley specifically. This suggests a concrete interaction, a conversation specific enough to involve spelling. Hannah and Haley, both names starting with H, both common enough to have spelling variations. This wasn't a passing comment. This was a discussion. And here's another detail that doesn't fit. The poster remembers Haley making a specific comment about food. She writes, "She really liked the way I cooked fish. She made me laugh because she said her dad always boiled it." That's not a vague memory. That's a specific personality moment. A child expressing preference, making the poster laugh, mentioning her father's cooking method. The poster even adds her own reaction. This is the kind of detail you don't fabricate. It's too mundane, too specific, too real. But wait, there's something else. In her edit, the poster confirms the girl's dad does in fact boil fish. Present tense. She verified this detail. Somehow, in a conversation after all of this, she confirmed that her cousin does indeed boil fish. This random culinary detail that a disappeared child allegedly mentioned about her father, it's accurate. The father does boil fish, but he has no daughter named Haley who could have told her this. If we map this out chronologically, the impossibility becomes clearer. 7 years ago, family reunion, 2 daughters, fishing trip, camping, multiple photographs. 5 years ago, Disney World post, Haley's absence noticed, deep investigation begins. Present day, no evidence Haley ever existed, except in the memories of 2 people. The poster also provides context about the family situation that makes the disappearance even stranger. She notes that her cousin's wife did have multiple miscarriages after Hannah, and that's why she said they only have the 1 child. This suggests the wife wanted more children, tried for more children, but it didn't happen. In this timeline, Haley never existed because Hannah remained an only child due to these miscarriages. Now, consider this. If you were a parent who had lost a child, whether to death, abduction, or any tragedy, would you claim that child never existed? Or would you acknowledge the loss? The parents didn't say, "We don't talk about Haley," or "something happened to her." They said they never had a daughter by that name. That's not grief. That's genuine lack of recognition. The poster even went so far as to search school records, social media, any digital footprint. Nothing emerged. I Googled things and people involved. I found other girls with the same name, but none of them were her. In an era where children's existences are documented from birth, hospital records, social security numbers, school enrollments, medical records, this child has left no trace. And then, when they shared this online, something unexpected happened. When this was posted to Reddit, the responses revealed a pattern. This isn't an isolated incident. One commenter shared their own experience. They went through old photos with their father, found themselves automatically asking, "Where's your sister?" about a person who doesn't exist. The commenter writes, "Because I don't have a sister." Both father and son experience the same moment of confusion, both feeling like someone should have been there in childhood memories. The commenter describes this really strong, almost image of holding hands with another chubby child's hand in mind, both of us trying to keep up with my parents' pace. Another user described a patient in physical therapy who spent weeks talking about her two sons, the teenager at home and the older independent son. Detailed stories, specific information. Then one session, I asked her a question about the older brother, and she said she didn't have another son. Not that he died, not that they were estranged. She'd always wanted a second child, but it never worked out. A different commenter recounted going on a cave tour with family. 9 people went in. When they came out, both the commenter and their mother felt like someone's missing. They did a Howd count. Everyone was accounted for, but the 15-year-old who had stayed above asked, "I thought more went in?" 3 people, independently, felt this same absence of someone who wasn't there. In all these cases, there's a consistent element: witnesses, multiple people experiencing the same anomaly. The poster isn't alone in remembering Haley. Her daughter does too. The commenter and his father both question the missing sister. The cave tour involved 3 people noticing an absence. Researchers who study memory and false memory syndrome have documented shared false memories, but those typically involve suggestion or leading questions. One person plants an idea, others adopt it. But in these cases, the memories emerged independently. The poster and her daughter both remembered Haley before discussing it. Both went to their separate photo collections and found the same impossibility. Psychologists suggest that confabulation, the creation of false memories, often involves filling gaps in memory with plausible stories. But these aren't gap fillers. These are vivid, detailed memories with emotional content. The poster remembers Haley laughing about boiled fish. Her daughter remembers multiple nights camping in the same tent, taking dozens of selfies. These are episodic memories, the kind tied to specific times and places. Similar reports have emerged from various online communities dedicated to glitches in the matrix or reality anomalies. Users describe people disappearing from existence, buildings vanishing, entire life events changing or erasing. Some researchers who study these phenomena point to quantum mechanics and the many worlds interpretation, the idea that every decision creates branching timelines. If those timelines can somehow collapse or merge, people might retain memories from a timeline that no longer exists. Of course, these are all unverified accounts. There's no scientific framework for testing these claims, no way to prove that a person who leaves no evidence ever existed. That's what makes these stories so unsettling. They're unfalsifiable. Either the person existed and reality changed, or the memories are false and multiple people experienced the same delusion. One commenter offered a theory: you perma-shifted to a different timeline or reality. They suggest this happens regularly, but with changes so small, we rationalize them away. Keys that aren't where you left them, objects appearing in your home that you don't remember acquiring. But sometimes the changes are larger. Sometimes a person disappears. Another user noted that the poster and her daughter experienced a serious car accident together when the daughter was 2 years old. The daughter was 14 at the reunion, 12 years later. The commenter asked if this could be a near-death experience that caused a timeline shift. The poster confirmed, "We actually did. We were in a very bad car accident." 12 years before the reunion, where both of them would later remember a child who never existed. Which brings us back to the central question.
So, how do we explain this? Let's consider the rational explanations first. Could this be a case of false memory? Memory research shows that humans are remarkably bad at accurately recalling events, especially after several years. We confabulate, we fill in gaps, we're influenced by suggestion. But here's where that explanation struggles. Two people, the poster and her daughter, both remember Haley independently. They both went to their separate photo collections expecting to find her. False memory syndrome typically requires some form of suggestion or leading. One person mentions something, the other's brain latches onto it and builds a memory around it. But who suggested Haley to whom? Did the poster plant this idea in her daughter's head? Or did the daughter somehow influence her mother? And there's the specificity problem. The poster remembers a conversation about spelling. She remembers Haley's comment about boiled fish. Her daughter remembers multiple nights in a tent, selfies, specific interactions. These aren't vague impressions. These are detailed episodic memories with sensory components and emotional content. Creating such detailed false memories in two people simultaneously, without suggestion, would be unprecedented in memory research. Perhaps there's a simpler explanation we're missing. Maybe Haley was a friend who came along to the reunion. Maybe the poster misremembered the relationship. But this doesn't account for the family's response. When asked directly about a child named Haley, the parents didn't say, "Oh, you mean Hannah's friend." They said they never had a daughter by that name. The grandparents were asked, aunts, uncles. No one recognized the name at all. The memory explanation would make sense, except for the photographs. Both women describe going to their photo collections and finding images that no longer contained Haley. How do you create a false memory of looking at photographs? Memory researchers will tell you that people can misremember what was in a photo. But both women describe the same experience. The photos exist, other people are in them, but one specific person is missing. That's not misremembering photo content. That's remembering something that apparently never was. Coincidence could account for the boiled fish detail, but not the precision of it. The poster remembered Haley saying her dad boils fish. Later, she confirms the father does in fact boil fish. What are the odds of fabricating a specific detail about someone's cooking method that happens to be accurate? And if she knew the father boiled fish beforehand, why would her brain specifically create a disappeared child to tell her this information? But what if something genuinely unexplainable occurred? The timeline theory suggests that the poster and her daughter somehow shifted from a reality where Haley existed to one where she never did. This would explain why their memories remain intact while everyone else's don't. They're the only ones who made the jump. Everyone else has always been in the timeline where Hannah is an only child. The miscarriages the wife experienced after Hannah, in that timeline, those pregnancies never resulted in a living child. But in the other timeline, the one the poster remembers, one of those pregnancies produced Haley. This theory has a strange kind of logic to it. It explains the photographs. If the poster and daughter shifted timelines, they'd remember photos from the other timeline. When they look at their actual photos in this timeline, Haley isn't there, because in this timeline, she never existed to be photographed. The photos were never altered. They've always shown Hannah alone. The poster and daughter just remembered different versions. It explains why verification is impossible. Any record of Haley would exist in the other timeline, not this one. Birth certificates, school records, social media, none of it exists here because she doesn't exist here. The poster could search forever and find nothing because there's nothing to find in this reality. But this creates its own questions. What causes a timeline shift? The car accident 12 years before the reunion? Some other event? And why did only 2 people shift, not the whole family? Why not just the poster alone? How do you reconcile concrete proof with objective impossibility? If the poster is telling the truth about her memories, then she experienced something that violates our understanding of reality. If she's mistaken about her memories, then she and her daughter simultaneously created identical false memories, with specific details that happen to align with certain facts, like the father's cooking methods. What would you do if you had physical evidence of an impossible event, except the evidence changed to match the impossible? The poster had photographs. They're still there, but they now show something different than what she remembers. Is that evidence of reality changing, or evidence that memory is unreliable? Consider this. The poster's 11-year-old son was also at the reunion. He doesn't remember Haley. Why would the daughter remember but not the son? Age difference? The daughter was 14, actively taking selfies and photos, deliberately creating memories. The son was 11, perhaps less engaged. Or did only the poster and daughter make the jump? We may never know for certain what happened. But there's one detail we haven't addressed yet. The poster remembers Haley loving the campfire starbursts they made together. She really liked the campfire starburst that we made, especially the pink ones. Think about that for a moment. Campfire starbursts, pink ones. This isn't a dramatic detail. It's not a key piece of evidence. It's just a small memory of a child enjoying a treat around a campfire during a family reunion. The kind of detail that sticks in your mind, not because it's important, but because it was genuine. A moment of simple happiness. The poster still has that memory. Her daughter still has her memories of nights in that tent, whatever they talked about, whatever they laughed about. Those memories didn't disappear when Haley did. They're still there, still real to the 2 people who experienced them. But Haley isn't. A few months after the poster discovered Haley's absence, she writes that she became terrified. I just spent a week with them, but I'm terrified. What if that happened to one of my kids, or even a close friend of mine? What if this could happen again? What if someone she loves simply vanishes from existence, leaving only her memory behind? One commenter responded, "It could have already happened and you wouldn't even know." That's what makes this story different from most glitches people report. Usually it's objects, buildings that weren't there before, a store that moved locations, company logos that look different. Those are unsettling, but abstract. This is personal. This is a child who 2 people remember spending a week with, fishing with, camping with, laughing with. A child who doesn't exist, has never existed, except in the memories of 2 people who can't prove she was ever real. The poster ends her account with a question, almost resigned. Maybe she was a ghost. But ghosts don't appear in photographs. Ghosts don't camp in tents with your teenage daughter for multiple nights. Ghosts don't make jokes about their dad's cooking. And ghosts don't disappear from photos that documented their presence. Whatever Haley was, whoever she existed enough to create memories in 2 people's minds. Detailed, specific, consistent memories. She existed enough to take up space in that tent, to hold a fishing pole, to eat pink starbursts around a campfire. And now she's gone. Not dead, not missing, not lost. Gone in a way that's more complete than death. Because when someone dies, they leave evidence, graves, records, other people's memories, photographs. Haley left nothing. Just 2 witnesses who can't prove what they remember. The poster hasn't forgotten her. Her daughter hasn't forgotten her. Somewhere, in their minds, Haley still exists. Still laughing about boiled fish. Still enjoying pink starbursts. Still real. Maybe memory is evidence enough. Maybe the fact that 2 people remember her
means she existed in some form, in some version of reality. Maybe that's all existence really is, being remembered. Or maybe reality has seams we're not supposed to see, places where timelines overlap or collapse. And sometimes when those seams shift, people get caught in between. Some stay, some go, and a very few remember what was there before. Whatever happened at that family reunion 7 years ago, one thing is certain. 2 people remember a child named Haley. They remember her so clearly, they went looking for proof. They remember her so completely, they questioned everyone they could find. They remember her so specifically they can describe her personality, her preferences, her words. And in a world that insists she never existed, maybe that remembering is the only proof that matters. Somewhere, in someone's memory, Haley is still real.